So the question is this. Hi, Sunny. I'm caught up in mind identification. When I worry about my son in the middle of the night and I ask who is aware of this thought, it comes back to me saying it's my human self who is aware of these thoughts. I know I have a higher self, the observer self, and the higher self just observes. But even believing that, I'm stuck in the fear that I need to figure out how to help my son with his mental illness or bipolar depression. Same for myself when I am awake in the middle of the night and have not had enough sleep, and I worry how I will make it through the day. Who is aware of this fearful thought? It comes back to me saying, my human self. And the fears keep going. What am I missing, or what am I misperceiving? So he's asking the question, what is aware? And he's saying, thought says, or something says, returns and says, it's my human self, or it's this, or it's that, or it's awareness. It could be anything. Mind will have many ideas about what is aware. So notice how the content of the thought will be something different, right? It might say it's the higher self, or it's going to say my human self, or it's going to say awareness, or it'll say, I don't know what is aware. It always will say something. That is the content. Forget the content. The fact is that it is a thought, an idea, a concept. And without you thinking about it, there's awareness of it. How do I know there's awareness of it? Because you just told me about it. You are aware of this experience and you shared it. So this is why inquiry is not a thinking process. The moment you even sort of launch the investigation, and in every single time, it need not be you mentally asking what is aware or as what am I aware. It could even just be sort of like a curiosity of what is aware. It's not a mental questioning again and again. It is just the question itself serves as a crutch that we use to once again become aware of awareness itself. More on that in a second. But notice that the moment you launch this investigation, wordlessly or with words, you can't go searching for the answer in thoughts. And this is the where you can fall into a trap. Where you ask the question, and again, so the question is a thought, of course. Who am I is a thought. But so it's followed by another thought, uh, my human self or awareness. So it's like thought having conversation with thought having conversation with thought. What sees this? What sees thought talking with thought? Now, don't tell me what the next thought says because it's simply being seen. It may say whatever, but this is what we have to wake up to. This is what we have to start seeing, that it's simply thought arising, saying whatever. And it is believed in as me saying this. And then the next thought arises, says something, maybe even contradictory, something totally opposite. Maybe it's thought number two, suffering thought number one. And we identify with that too because that identification is strong. And then we continue to identify with the train of thoughts. And that's why we feel so restless. And that's why we fall into states of fear and anxiety. It's because these thoughts arise and they become us. So when you ask the question, what is aware? Or when that fearful thought arises, right? And you're like, okay, what is aware of this fearful thought? Don't go looking in what the next thought will say, but acknowledge the fact that the next thought that arises and says whatever There's a wordless awareness of it. Because you're speaking about it, because you're talking about it, because you're saying that this happened, there's an awareness of it. That awareness you're not trying to make happen. That awareness you're not speaking into existence. The thought speaking itself is seen, is known wordlessly. The thought that says it's my human self is also a thought. There's an automatic, spontaneous, effortless awareness of. You didn't make an effort to know that thought, to become aware of that thought. The moment it came, it was known. Only because of your awareness of it is it being known by you. So this is the thing that shifts when you come to self-inquiry. No longer are you just immersed in what you are aware of and the world that it's painting. No longer are you just immersed in the content of thoughts, which really becomes personal. It's like I've shared before how it's like wearing goggles and it influences what you see. So right now, this is the state. These ideas are just arising. These thoughts are just arising, and they're just becoming us. And these are like masks through which we see. Each thought its own identity. Sometimes you're the fearful one. Sometimes you're the happy one. Sometimes you're the restless one. Sometimes you're the scared one or angry one. It's because that tendency to just remain too fixated in what you know, in what you see, in what you are aware of. That's the tendency which we call identification. So the beginner meditation comes to our life and it loosens this up a little bit, where you're at least able to get some space. Previously, it was just, absolute sleep and constant identification with the flow of contents. Beginner meditation comes, it loosens us up a little bit, where now there's a little bit of space. We wake up to presence itself, the fact that there's presence. But now in self-inquiry, you're taking an additional step, which is rather than keeping the attention outward onto thoughts, which is what makes even thinking possible, the attention needs to be outward on something, on the thought, for it to be known. The moment you start becoming curious about that which is aware, about even the attention itself, from where it's coming, who's seeing, rather than what you're seeing, you're becoming curious and interested in who's seeing, what's seeing. This starts to bring your attention inward to yourself. This is the uh, sort of like zooming out of just being fixated in thoughts, in concepts, in ideas about who I am and what I'm perceiving. So back to just the experiential side of it. In the moment you launched the investigation, as what am I aware? Or what is aware of this, of my experience? Because right now in your experience, you agree, you are aware. It's like the fact of your experience. Because even if you are saying, I'm not aware, there's awareness of even these words. It's like an unspoken fact at the heart of your experience, through which your experience is known, which makes experiencing possible. So Right now, what you are aware of is what you're calling the world. So whatever room you're sitting in or environment that you're sitting in, that's what you call the world, the physical world. In it, there are many sights, many sounds, um, many things. What you are also aware of is your own body. What you're also aware of is the invisible stuff you call thoughts and emotions, which don't have like a physical, like they're not what we call physical objects. They're completely invisible. They can't really be seen or heard, yet you are aware of them. So this is the world we remain immersed in, just subtle objects, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and physical objects world. That's all we remain immersed in. Throughout your entire day, we're just talking about objects. We're just talking about a combination of objects. We're just talking about, like, what I'm referring to is your circumstances and your situations, your life situation, all objects. We're just describing objects. We're just talking about objects. We're just interpreting objects. We're just projecting about what future objects, what past objects. It's just all immersion in objects. All our activity is just about securing more objects, about losing some, avoiding some, gaining some. It's all in the realm of objects. It's all in the realm of things we are aware of, while totally taking the awareness of them for granted, which itself is the greatest miracle because you don't have to be aware. Why are you aware at all? Like, how did you come to be aware? Sometimes we begin answering this question with another story that we learned in the realm of objects. So it's conceptual. So it won't help either. So you see, this is where the difficulty we have because all we know is just dwelling in either the subtle, like thoughts, emotions, sensations, or we know world. But inquiry is awakening us to that which we cannot see, that which we cannot know as a object, as a thing that we can say it's there or it's here somewhere in the mind. We can't locate it, we can't pinpoint it, we can't limit it, yet it's here. It's here as you. The moment I say you, though, another image comes in mind of your face, of your name. This itself is an association. It's not the truth. It's an image also which changes. Right now, the face that you think of when you think of yourself is not the face that was a couple of years ago, and it's certainly not the face that will be in a few years. It itself is an object. Less you than that which sees it, because you see it. That is a fact. You see it change. Sure, it feels like you when it's here and this is so real, but it changes. You do not. You remain you. That at the core of your experience never changes. I am aware. I am experiencing. But what you claim this I to be constantly is changing. So what's the deal here? As what are you aware? As what are you seeing the change? That is the integral question. But you can't go looking inside of objects for the answer. This is where we have a difficult time. So where to look then? Well, anywhere you can look, like anywhere you can shine this light, it's just going to be another object. Anything you can know, any word, even awareness, even the self, is just another idea, a concept. So, sorry, back to experience, self inquiry. When you launch the curiosity, the investigation, what is aware? It's not meant to just make you go looking in the next thought and the next thought, or this sensation or that sensation. Because the fact is, that is also known, that is also seen. Even the thought that says my personal self or my it's my body that is aware is just a thought that comes and goes, seen by you. So when that arises, whatever you are aware of, whatever thought says, whatever sensation you see, rather than being so interested in that, uh, rather than caring so much about that, in that moment of practice, acknowledge instead the awareness of it. So rather than the thought saying my higher self, actually acknowledge the awareness of it. The awareness of it is factual. And please do it right now, because like this is where you do it, see where the hardship is in this, where you may be getting tripped up in the subtlety of it, and we'll iron that out. But the 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 right thing, I mean, the wrong thing to do is like, okay, hear it, I'm going to try to understand it, and then I'll practice later. You have to see it right now, because awareness is not something you got to work for. It's not like it's not going to be later. It's here now. Right now, there's an awareness of my words. There's an awareness of your thoughts interpreting my words, trying to understand my words. Rather than being so interested in what is being said, acknowledge that there's an automatic, spontaneous, effortless awareness of it. You may have a thought saying, "Oh yes, I see it. I think I'm getting it." That itself is seen wordlessly. There's an awareness of even that thought arising and subsiding by that which is not itself changing. Who are you? What is that? Again, maybe some thought says this or that. Don't care about what it says so much. Simply once again acknowledge the awareness of it. Even the next thought that maybe say, but oh, I had it, then I lost it, is itself just a description. It's just a thought seen. The awareness of that thought is fact. It's wordless. It's here. The moment you become aware, the moment you acknowledge that there's an awareness of it, the moment you become aware of that, it drops away. And you're simply here, silently being aware. And then the next thought arises like, okay, what to do with this? Why does it matter? Simply acknowledge awareness of it again. Don't go off into those trains. Don't sit on that and then take it for a ride. Just acknowledge the awareness of it. The moment you do, that narrative will also fall away. And all that remains is you here as you are. Silent knowing, silent being, self-awareness. But you may say like, okay, but what is this doing? Or where am I getting? Again, notice how there's such an energy of trying to get something. We're trying to make this practice into some crazy fantasy that we have about spirituality, that we think something's going to occur, something's going to happen. These are immature ideas. Let them arise, but don't be so interested in what they're saying. In the moment of their arising, you're only interested in the awareness of it, which again is a wordless acknowledgement. And in the moment you acknowledge awareness of it, it drops. It no longer remains relevant. And you're simply here as you are. Silent, quiet, not needing anything to happen. Something arises and it's waiting for something to happen, which again is just another thought. Again, just acknowledge the awareness of it, and it will drop off. Something's like, oh, is this same as like, oh, being aware of presence, or is this presence that don't care about those things right now? You know, like again, we get on those things and we get on those trains and we go, we're too interested in the content of the thoughts. We're too interested in the mind trying to make something happen. In this moment, it does not matter. Let it go. The only thing you're interested in is the fact of awareness of it. Which again, just simply, that acknowledgement just brings you back to silent knowing. This is the place you have to visit very often, because here your suffering cannot last. Take that invitation and put it to the test. Absolutely. Fear cannot last. Anxiety cannot last. Because for them to be, you must keep going on off on those trains. You must keep being interested in the content of mind. The moment you just return, and notice how in your experience it doesn't feel like you're stepping away from yourself, you're stepping somewhere else, where you're doing something. Matter of fact, this is so simple that you don't think it's enough. You feel like there should be more to it. You feel like it can't be this. But notice how it's just returning to self. It feels like you're returning. Even the thought is at a distance. It is seen to come and go. Yet that which sees, being that which sees, is like you're not even taking a step outward. You're simply resting as that which is being inquired into. You are the self. There's no higher self anywhere up there or down here or inside. That which is aware is the higher self. There is only one self, actually. There's no higher or lower. That which is aware, you. Be that. But right now, this is too full of, ideas about what is aware. Again and again, your face pops up. Again and again, you associate it to be the body. But these are all objects that there's a seeing of, that there's an awareness of. The moment we go off into talking about it's the body doing this, or it's the personal self, then we're already on a train of concepts. We're already into ideas. But self-inquiry is not about ideas. It's not about concepts. It's about returning to the fact, the only fact, which is I exist. I am. I am aware. Prior to the thought, I exist. Prior to the thought, I am aware. There's awareness. Before even saying there's awareness. So this will end that loop where it no longer matters what the mind says when you launch this investigation, because anything it could say, there's an awareness of. How could that which we are aware of have an answer to that which is aware? The problem is we're too interested in what the mind says. And through these ideas, we also maintain this assumption that I, Sunny, with again the face, that image that pops up, am seeing. But again, this is an idea. This is an assumption. It's not the truth. In your direct experience, there's just awareness. It's not someone who's doing awareness, someone who has awareness. That which you are taking to be creating this awareness is itself the object that there's an awareness of. So when you return to yourself, when you return to simply, silently, quietly being aware of being aware, acknowledging awareness, in that moment, the whole conceptual world is at rest. In that moment, the mind is in its source. In that moment, there's not even this idea of I, Sunny, am doing this practice until once again you go outward and step into that idea. But when you're just in a state of self awareness, being aware silently, there's no division anywhere. There's no one being aware of something. It's just awareness. And there's no separation between the awareness and the objects that there's an awareness of. I'm trying to keep it experiential here, so I don't want to go off into the subtle philosophy of it. That itself will be realized by itself, but the best I could do is point you to the actual practice, the experience of it. Meaning, when we're talking about this subtle shift in interest, this subtle shift in attention, when I say we're too interested in what we are aware of, it's simply something arises, the thought arises, and we care too much about what it says. In the moment of practice, right? It does not matter. So, what were the concerns here, right? About your child suffering, or about you suffering later, or you not having enough sleep, or this or that. In the moment of practice, you as a person don't matter. Your life as a person does not matter. In the moment of practice, you can once again pick up all that personal concern when you're done. But you see, that's the fresh attitude that I invite you to have, not only in the practice, but also on these calls. Can you, in this moment, just for this moment that we're together, not care about this person and how his or her life is going to unfold? If you'll ever understand this, if you'll ever achieve what you want to achieve, if you'll ever be loved, all those things. These are the concerns which are covering this up, you see? Even me proposing this, many of you may have had such great resistance to even this idea. That is the concern. That is the personal layers and layers and layers covering this simple seeing up. So we cling to something which ultimately is like our dysfunction. And we feel like it is necessary to be concerned so that I will be okay. But this is the greatest illusion, one of them. In truth, with or without your concern, life flows. So forget that. Just in this moment, in the moment of practice, don't be so interested in your personal life, what you achieve, what you don't, what you if you understand this or no. Like even the desire for some sort of spiritual expansion is being done on behalf of some personal identity. In the moment, be just drop that. Don't need anything to happen. Don't need to understand anything. And the reason I say that is because the moment you let go of such concerns, then what can the mind cook up for you that will possibly be interesting? Because it is only talking ever about your concerns. It is only ever creating a narrative around you, the person. The moment we drop interest in the person in this moment, the stories, the thoughts, the interpretations, the judgments, they become irrelevant. So now if something arises, that is what is required, rather than being so interested in its content and what it is saying. Acknowledge the awareness of it. It brings you from outward to inward. This is the real meaning of the word meditation. Being one with what you are, being yourself, being what you are, being as you are, being. Mind says being what? Because again, it wants to associate being with an object. It wants it to be something, this or the other, but that's not possible. That is where we go wrong. Beingness is just fact. It's not a thing that's being. It's not something on the other side of this, somewhere over there, somewhere in the darkness, that's doing this. No, this is it. But that which we are seeking will never appear as this. It's appearing as all of this. But in the moment of practice, the only way to dissolve these worlds and worlds of anxiety and false notions and belief systems and the self-image, which is at the heart of all of these structures, to see clearly myself without associations. This is the only path. This is the only way. Awareness of awareness. For awareness is the only thing in the realm of objective experience that is not an object. So this is the the silence of self-awareness melts away all the stuff that you are trying to get rid of anyway. The mind loves hearing things like this and conversations like this, but it doesn't like the practice. It runs away from the silence because, again, it cannot then perpetuate its talking. And the one who it is claiming is talking. In this moment, if you are not the talking, if you are not the doing, If you are not the thinking, if you are not the feeling, what are you? Such a question brings you to utter silence, to stillness, to simply being as you are, not looking for yourself in the world, but simply being that. To know yourself, be yourself. Let go of trying to grasp it with the mind. Turn away from your questions. Care not for what the mind says about this. Just return to self awareness. This is self devotion. By dwelling in mind, by dwelling in personal concern, we are devoted to unreality, to appearance, to illusion. But through this practice, we're now devoting ourselves to ourself. It's devotion to life, devotion to self. So there shouldn't be any confusion about this. If there is, please voice it. There certainly can be confusion about this, but let's work on that. Let's like get through that. Anything that's arising for you, share it and we'll talk about it. Because this simple thing is the main thing to get. This inquiry is the main practice. This practice alone is like enough. It is that enough. If you need help with this, with living this teaching, this understanding, if you want the consistent guidance and support, learn more about my School of Awakening. It will absolutely transform your entire practice, your understanding. The link is in the description box below.